and Jekyll rather than doing the same thing. I would think if they can't do something tonight, they'll do something tomorrow, and you make them get into a hotel or something. Proceed with your cross-examination, please.
Excuse me, seated. Excuse me.
Good afternoon, Mr. Grimstead. You put a lot of time and training into being a crime scene technician, correct?
That is correct.
I think you said in excess of 500 hours that you put toward that, correct?
That is correct.
And you're currently in the robbery homicide unit. Is that also referred to as crimes against persons? Is that the same thing?
That is correct. The crimes against persons.
And are you still doing crime scene tech chores, if you will, or tasks now in that role, or are you just doing detective work?
No, I'm doing mainly detective work. If one of the crime scene technicians has a problem on scene or needs some assistance, I will help out.
Very good. And in the midst of all that training that you've been through, that includes training on how to actually look at a scene to get as much information as you can, or at least what you believe is relevant, correct?
That is correct.
And that would include both writing things down, taking pictures, taking videos, anything that you can do to document a scene, correct?
That is correct.
And did they also talk to you about how to maintain records of that sort of thing, of your documenting of a scene?
Well, writing a report is an individual thing. It's basically what you need to cover. And how you write it in a report is basically up to you.
And the diagram that you made in this case, is that something you just came up with on your own, or is that also something they would teach you in this training?
No, there's also a practice that's used.
All right. And as far as the specificity of your report, if you're taking photographs of things and taking videos, is it necessary to really write everything in your report to keep track of the information?
I try to include as much detail as I can in my reports.
Okay. And is it necessary to do that? Why would you do that if you got photographs and pictures of it all?
Because there are many times that photographs can get lost, screwed up, computer files can get corrupted. I like to just try to back myself up as best I can.
Fair enough. And is it true, I think it was said by someone earlier about, photographs kind of tell us a story about a scene. Would you agree with that?
I agree that it helps to tell a story.
Okay. And would you also agree that sometimes they can be very misleading depending on how they're taken?
If the photographer knows what they're trying to convey and knows how to take a photograph, I do not think they would be, no.
All right. And are you taught at all to be very careful about things such as angle and lighting and any sort of variables that might affect how taking a picture of the exact same thing may appear differently depending on how you do it?
We try to take into account everything that we can to make sure it conveys what we want it to convey.
To make sure it conveys what you want it to convey. Is that right?
Yes, because that's what we're telling a story. We're helping to orient everybody. So if I'm taking a picture of, say, the sign on that door back there, I would want to take a close-up photograph of it instead of one from back here where you may not be able to read it.
And as far as, let's just talk a little bit about lighting particularly. Is that a particular concern when you're taking photographs, that you have a right sort of lighting in the area so you can take accurate photographs?
Many times we're forced to work in the lighting that we have available. So, ideally, yes, if we're in a studio, yes.
Yes, what?
If we're in a studio, we would have specific lighting. But many times we're forced to work in the lighting that we have.
And the picture that you talked about, I think we put it in, was the grid that has your information on it, your name and the date and that sort of thing. You familiar with that?
Yes, I am.
And does that provide something to help you to make sure the lighting is correct, or something you can use to judge whether or not the subsequent photographs are taken in a reproducible light?
That does have a grayscale on it, which is one of the things that you'd use in photography to ensure that the color balance is accurate or mostly accurate.
All right. And that's something that can be adjusted as you're taking photographs, either with the camera or with the lighting around it, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
In other words, you can add shadows or take away shadows with a light, among other things.
Yes, you can.
And with regards to looking at this vehicle, you went to the shed there at the Cobb County Police Department, and it appears y'all have pretty good lighting in there. Is that fair to say?
That is correct.
And however, it's not quite the same as being outside in the natural sunshine. Is that also fair to say?
That is correct.
And I think when we look at this photographs, we can see the reflection of the what looks like fluorescent lights above on the roof of the shed shining down on you, correct?
Yes, there are many photographs. You can see that.
And I think you talked about and even mentioned that sometimes it's kind of hard to see because of the glare.
That is correct. If you're looking through glass.
And that's just a natural phenomenon that if you're outside or inside, whatever the lighting conditions can put a different glare that may affect what you can and can't see at a particular time.
That is correct.
All right. Now, did you ever take photographs of this vehicle out at the tree house there on Cumberland Parkway?
No, I did not.
All right. So you never had a chance to look at it in the natural sunlight conditions and what glares may have been on any of the windows there at the treehouse?
No, I did not.
Now, let me ask you a little bit about, as you're looking at this car in the shed, you've made a 2+ page report about that with lots of information on it that you've testified to here today, correct?
That is correct.
And I don't want to rehash what you talked about in the measurements, but I want to make sure ladies and gentlemen understand just how particular you are, particularly in getting this sort of information, okay? And I want to do that just kind of looking at your report. Do you have your report with you by chance?
Yes, I did.
Very good. You mentioned a few of the measurements. You actually took several measurements from in and around this car. Is that right?
That is correct.
I want to just kind of walk through those and just make sure we can see exactly what we're talking about here. If you want to refer to your report, you feel free to. I'll try to kind of walk through it and just make sure I'm straight on it. You measured the front of the child safety seat to the front dash, correct?
That is correct.
And is that what you were talking about that you were using this ruler for? Excuse me. That we see in States 284. Have you ever seen that from where you are?
Yes, that is correct. That is not the actual measurement that I took. That was to show a general view of how far it was.
Okay. So you're saying this doesn't match the measurement on your report?
No, that does not.
All right. And is it off by, well, let me ask you, what did you measure that's not shown here?
No, I took an accurate measurement from the dash to the front portion of the child safety seat. I used this scale to be able to show the scale of where the car seat was in conjunction with the seat. So that was not used for a measurement anyway. That was a scale that was placed in the photograph.
And what is this, the yellow box, what is it sitting on?
That's sitting on the edge of the child safety seat.
So as we look at the States 307, okay? Let's set this up here. Stallman, if we get in your way, please let me know. Looking at States 307, can you point to us where that box is in relation to the car seat, where you put it?
I cannot say exactly where it was because that was just in the photograph as a scale. I just needed it to be resting on somewhat of a horizontal plane. I believe it would be in this area right along here.
This gray line, what appears to be like the hood of the car seat?
That could be where it was at.
Okay. Well, where else might it be?
I cannot see clearly in that photograph.
Absolutely. Step down.
No, I mean,
step up here.
that photograph, you cannot see clearly where it's actually sitting on.
Okay. Is there anywhere else you could have put it that you see from looking at the car seat other than sitting on that hood?
No, that appears to be where it was sitting at.
Okay. So do you think you moved the hood down so that it would be able to sit right there against it?
No, I did not. If I did, it would have been after any measurements were taken.
Okay. Okay. So the hood may have been moved a little bit after you took your initial measurements, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Just for this picture, your best guess is that looks like where you would have put it. You just don't know for sure.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Let's go back to since we're talking about that car seat, let's hold it there for a moment. All right, your next measurement, the child safety seat child safety seat to top head area. It's like 1 foot 7 1/4 inches.
That is correct.
What are we talking about there?
From the actual bottom of the seat to the top where the head would be, the head side of it.
Okay, can you show us what you mean by that? What seat? Because obviously we have multiple seats we're talking about here.
Drop this thing.
But let me ask you this, maybe, do you have a diagram with you? Maybe that'll show us. That may be, since you went through the trouble of doing it. Does that show that measurement?
No, this does not.
All right. All right, well, that would be helpful. So does that one have it?
No, this does not have a measurement. No.
All right. Well, then we'll go back to do it that way. Can you tell us where is that measurement?
It is from this portion of the seat to the top right here.
All right. Excuse me. So that's 1 feet, 7, what's that, 19 1/4 inches? That 1 foot, 7 1/4, if we,
1 foot 7 1/4 inches.
very good. And you're measuring down to the 1/4 of an inch, now that's pretty precise. Is that as low as you typically would measure?
We try to get it as accurate as we can.
Very good. And the next measurement, we got the back seat floor to the top of the child safety seat. Is that shown on this diagram?
I mean, look at that.
2 feet, 6.5 inches.
That is correct.
All right. Can I have would you step down, Your Honor, please? If you would just step down here and bring that with you, let's just show the ladies and gentlemen, because I know that writing's a little small. I want to make sure they're able to see this. This is the measurement of the back seat floor to the top of the child safety seat. Explain to us, and you can use the diagram to show us, what is that measuring?
Get my pen out here. It shows from the floorboard area to the top of the child safety seat.
When you say the top, are you talking about the gray part here in the middle?
The top edge
Right here or up here?
up here on the side.
Okay, very good.
This is a side view. So from the floor to the top.
All right, thank you. The next one, I think you take it with you. You may need it again. I think the next one you may have explained already, and it may be a little more clear to picture it. The edge of the child safety seat to the rear driver's side door. That's from, you said, I think from the outermost part or the outer boundary or something. Where would you measure from the side of the seat to the door to get that measurement?
It was only, the measurements were taken from the outer edge of the child safety seat.
Very good. And you've done that to both the driver's side door and the passenger side door, correct?
That is correct.
Very good. And then you've got some measurements of just the seat itself, the child safety seat width, the seat length, the seat height from base to top, total width of the rear passenger seat from door to door, that's of the car, correct?
That is correct.
All right. The back of the driver's seat to the back of the rear passenger seat, that's the distance between, we're talking about the back side of the seat to the back of this seat.
Yes, to that seat. Yes, that is correct.
Back seat. All right. The steering wheel to the back of the driver's seat. The height of the driver's seat top from the floor. So we're talking about the top of the, we don't see this picture, but the top of the headrest down to the floor. Is that what we're talking about?
No, that's not. That's the seat.
Okay. So this part.
No, the seat itself.
This part.
Yes, I believe that's what we're talking about here.
Very good. All right. And it says it's 2 feet 8 inches. The height of driver's seat top from floor, does that sound right?
No, that's to the top of the seat itself, the back of the seat.
So it is this side.
That is correct.
Okay. Very good. The driver's floor to ceiling, the inside, and these are additional measurements that you took. We don't have to go through all the numbers, but I believe you got them shown on your diagram. Is that correct?
Some of them, yes, I did.
All right. The driver's door to the front passenger door, the distance between the driver and the front passenger seat, and then the inside edge of the front passenger seat to the front passenger door. So you've taken a lot of measures from all inside this car to try to, again, be able to reproduce the scene again if you had to, correct?
Yes, to be able to place it back. That is correct.
Very good. All right. Now, you mentioned something earlier about, I understood you to say you had a distance between the driver's seat and the car seat. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct.
We're talking about this gap here between the driver's seat and the car seat edge. Is that what you're talking about?
From the top of the, yes, that is correct.
Okay. Tell me exactly where you measured it.
Right where you touch down to the car child safety seat.
To the handle or to the seat?
To the seat itself.
Very good. All right. And that was, did you do it from the top of the seat or from the seam or?
From the top edge.
From the top. Very good. And what was that measurement? Well, first of all, is it in your report?
No, it is not.
Okay, but you did measure it.
Yes, I did.
All right, and what was that measurement? Either 4 inches or 3.5 inches, maybe, I think.
3.5 inches.
3.5 inches, okay. And so 3.5 inches from here to here, and this, you mentioned several times that the seat was between the two driver's seat and passenger seat. Is it clear to you that what you mean by that is it's not behind the driver's seat, it's not behind the passenger seat? Is that what you mean when you say between?
That's correct. It's in between the two seats.
All right. It's actually located behind each of the drivers and passenger seat, just in between them, behind them.
That is correct. It's on the back seat, but it's between the...
In other words, it's not right next to the driver's seat, sitting right here at the same line, same plane.
Not exactly right close. No.
Very good. All right. Now, as you, after you took the measurements, you then itemized and took items of evidence out of the car, correct?
That is correct.
And you mentioned several of those, and I think you have showed us some photographs of that. I want you to, the photographs that we've looked at, you may have indicated this, they're certainly not all the photographs that you took of this vehicle that day on June 18th, correct?
That is correct.
And in looking at those, let's see. No, I'm looking for, there were some, I think I had not had in there. Here we go. Right, let me let you look at these just to double check me on that. And specifically, as we were talking about the items you pulled out of the car, you mentioned the stuff that was in the back. There we go. These items, these bags, I would call it an amp too. That's what little musical knowledge I have, or a speaker of some sort, and some music bags of stuff. And you open those up, and the state's exhibits, I believe, right here. I'm still learning this thing, so bear with me, please, sir. Maybe in a different file. There we go. All right. Page 286 is a picture of the amp or speaker, and 287 is the bag. 288 and 289 are of the contents of that bag, not including this cable. It's 290. Correct? Are you able to see that?
That's correct.
I'm going to show you some photographs if I could. I have these marked as, these are defendants 6 through 13. Just want you to look through those. I know the number 6 you've seen already, but it's to try to keep them in context. Let me ask if you recognize what's depicted in those photographs as being additional photos that you took of the items in this car.
Yes, they seem to be photographs that I took.
Do they fairly accurately depict items as you took photographs of them that day on June 18th?
They do.
All right. I would tender these as defendants 6 through 13, please.
No objection.
Now, specifically as regards case 288, I'll show you defense exhibit number 11. And ask, is that a picture that shows a larger portion of this bag that is depicted in States 288? In other words, is a picture from further out so that we can see more of the contents.
There appears to be.
All right. And defendants number 12 and 13 are those close-ups of items within that bag.
I did not take this photograph.
Okay. Any idea who did?
No, I do not. It may have been one of the other crime scene technicians.
Who else was with you on June 18th, 2014 when these pictures were taken?
These photographs were not taken at the during the execution of the search warrant.
Okay. Do you recognize the items that are depicted in that photograph?
They appear to be the same, some of the same items that are shown in the photograph that's on the screen.
And in fact, they're in the same position as they're here in States 288.
They appear to
You
be.
can see this item, this red box over here, little thing that we can't see in the photograph. Do you see that depicted in defense exhibits in your hands?
I see a red box in here.
Okay. Do you recall seeing that day?
No, I did not take this photograph. I can't remember every piece of evidence that was in there or items that were in there.
You just testified that it truly and accurately depicts the items that you saw that day as you were there taking photographs, correct?
Yes, it shows what's shown in that photograph. That is correct.
All right. And the item that's depicted there, the drawn-out picture, are you telling us that now you all of a sudden don't remember what else was taken a photograph of that day?
No, can you rephrase your question?
Sure. My question is, as to what's depicted in Defense Exhibit 11, you saw that day when you took photographs.
That appears to be the same. It appears to be the same stuff that's in the bag.
Okay. I know it's been a long time since you took these photographs, correct?
Well, I did not take those photographs.
Okay. Was there anybody else there with you that day who would have been taking photographs?
During the execution of the search warrant on June 18th and into June 19th, those photographs were not taken by me, nor anyone else that was out there.
Okay. Do you have any idea how they would get into the same camera roll as these photographs?
I do not know that they're on the same roll.
Well, let me have you step down. Since you testified that they truly and accurately depict what was in that bag, just show us, if you would, please, sir. Just so the jury understands what we're talking about. Defense Exhibit 11. What's depicted in that photograph?
You can fully see the blue, says full drive 2 here. You can see this item here. You can see this little Velcro tab here. You can see a corner of possibly this box here.
You'll bring that down so all the ladies and gentlemen can see it.
There's a blue box. Another item that you can clearly see. And in that photograph, you can see a slight red portion, which could be this red box right here.
And while you're down here, Defense Exhibit 12, does that zoom in on that red box?
That does.
And Defense 13 even zoom in further?
It does zoom in on it, yes.
All right. If you'll show that to this lady here in the end, and then you just walk them back that way, please, sir.
Okay.
Thanks, sir. These photographs that have been tendered, did you have a chance to see those earlier today?
Those photographs there, sir?
That are on the big board that the state has put in evidence?
Yes, I have.
All right. And were you not provided these photographs to look at earlier by the state?
No, I did not see those.
Let me show you what you've already identified as Defense Exhibit 7, 8, and 9. Let me ask if you have seen, I know you've seen Defense 6, we've already seen that in evidence. And the following 3 photographs. Testify that they truly and accurately depict the scene as you saw it that day. Do you recall at this point in time taking those photographs?
Yes, I do.
Okay, very good. And these photographs, what's the purpose of taking those 3 photographs?
Well, I wanted to show that the child safety seat was buckled in and how it was buckled. And then once I removed the child safety seat, I wanted to show the clean seat, that there was nothing underneath of it, nothing that would have hindered the seat, or child safety seat.
And if you don't mind, if you'll step down again, please, sir, so we can, I don't have it on this fancy machine over here, so I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way, I guess. Let's start with, I'll hand it to you one at a time, and make it easy for you. This is Exhibit 7, if you'll explain to ladies and gentlemen what we're seeing there.
This is child safety seat, and you can see the buckles. How it's buckled in.
And if Exhibit 8 looks like a close-up, explain to us why you would have a close-up photograph like that.
Well, we normally take 3 general types of photographs in taking crime scene photographs. We're taking overall, which shows an overall depiction of what we're looking at. And we'll take an intermediate, which was what the previous photograph would. We also call that an establishing photograph. It establishes where the piece of evidence is at, and then a close-up to show more detail.
Very good. If it's Exhibit 7, obviously there's something different about that photograph. Show us what you're trying to depict there.
This is the rear seat of the vehicle after the child safety seat has been removed.
Excuse me, I may have misspoke. That's Defense Exhibit number 9. Are you able to see those lines in the seat there, Detective Grimstead? These items here, and maybe Defense 10 may show it a little bit better.
Yes. This is, again, a close-up of the center of the vehicle seat where the child safety seat was at before this is after I removed the child safety seat.
You recall those indentions that are in the seat where the car seat was?
That appears to be what they're from, yes.
Very good. Thank you. You can take a seat. And that's typical to take an overall picture and then a close-up picture and then a close-up picture so you can kind of see where things are in context, correct?
That is correct.
Now, after you removed these items from the car, what did you do with them?
If the items were evidence, then they were taken to the, back up to our office where they were bagged and signed, logged on property control sheets and signed into the CAP evidence room, either to be stored in evidence or to be sent off or processed at a later time.
Very good. Now, you've talked about, at some points, about a smell, having a sweaty smell inside the car, I think you indicated.
Yes, that is correct.
And that was something that you noticed on June 18th of 2014?
That's it's another, I notice a lot of times on most scenes I go to, most death scenes that I go to. It's a smell I associate with a death scene, especially a closed-in death scene.
All right. And so is it, having a scene of this nature, having had a child who expired inside a hot car, that's not something you've had to deal with before? Is that fair to say?
Yes, that is correct.
And but you've dealt with shootings, stabbings, stranglings, all sorts of ways that people are intentionally killed, correct?
That is correct.
And is it fair to say that most of the times you show up and there's some sort of open wound on the body?
Sometimes they're not. We also go out to natural deaths. And many times if somebody's been sick, and there's not open wounds, but a lot of our homicides, yes, there are.
Are you able at all, and I'm not holding you to a specific number, kind of give us a percentage of natural deaths as opposed to actual homicides that you would respond to?
Say 5 to 1.
Which one?
5 natural or suicides to homicides.
So much more often you're going to natural deaths as opposed to homicides.
That is correct.
And that's just part of your duties as a crime scene tech or as a detective for the crime scene persons unit?
That would actually be both.
Okay. And as you go to these scenes, do you work with a medical examiner's investigator in order to document the scenes at all, or do you just kind of do your work on your own?
Many times after I document the scene as it is when I arrive, and many times I will assist the medical examiner's investigator photographing the body, because obviously the body needs to be rolled up so we can check the extremities, and somebody needs to hold the body while somebody else photographs.
Is it fair to say when you smell something like this on the scene, you typically don't find that to be all that important?
It's a scene. It's a smell that I associate with a lot of death scenes. So, yes, it's one of those things that comes with the scene. It's hard to explain the smell, and once you've smelled it, it's very. You smell it, you know what it is.
Does it smell like body fluids?
A lot of times it's a sweaty, musty kind of smell. Like I said, it's very difficult to explain that smell to somebody who's never smelled it before.
And but in any event, you didn't document that at all when you did your report, your very detailed report in June of 2014.
No, I did not.
And it wasn't until about a year later that you decided to do a report to try to document that. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And do you recall who it was that asked you to go back and do that?
I was going through and reviewing my reports, because I knew the case was going to be coming up for trial, so I wanted to be somewhat familiar with it. And noticed it wasn't. We were talking with Detective Stoddard, and we talked about that, and I was like, yes, it was. And
When you say we were home detective, who do you mean?
well, it was actually a couple of us that were involved in the case. I can't remember exactly who was there.
Okay. Another police officer.
Another detective that was involved in the case.
Very good. And you were talking specifically about whether or not there was some smell
Well, that had come up during a conversation.
Okay. You said this is typical, something you see all the time, all the scenes you go to, but yet 3 detectives started talking about it.
We were talking about many different things, and that came up. That is correct.
Okay. Do you recall if it was Detective Stoddard who brought that to your attention?
I cannot recall exactly who brought up the, mentioned the odor.
Okay. But it was someone other than yourself?
That is correct.
And as far as the timing of that meeting, do you have any idea of when that meeting occurred?
No, I do not. We didn't make notes of the informal meeting, if you will.
Do you know if Lieutenant Farrell was at that meeting?
I do not know.
Is it possible that he was?
It's possible it was. I'm not sure.
But you're confident it was just police officers that were there?
Or the crime scene technician.
Okay. You know if it was more than 3 people?
I do not know exactly who was there.
Do you remember where it happened?
It was in the Crimes Against Persons office.
When you did do a report about that in August of 2015, over a year later, you didn't indicate at all about any sort of meeting that you had with anybody else, did you?
No, I did not.
You didn't indicate somebody else bringing this up to your attention, correct?
No, I did not.
But you indicated a musty, sick, and sweaty odor in the vehicle, correct?
That is correct.
Would it be fair for you to describe this odor as unremarkable?
No, that would not be fair, because somebody who's never smelled that before, it would be very remarkable.
About somebody who's been to crime scenes and seen this sort of thing over and over and over again like you have.
It's remarkable given different facts.
Was it remarkable to you because somebody else brought it to your attention and asked you to write a report to say that?
We were talking about it, and they came up, and I said, well, yeah, that's correct. I didn't annotate that.
You know if anybody else was asked to write a report to try to document that?
I do not know.
Now, you mentioned the scans that you did. You and, is it Detective Rich or CSI Rich, or I forget what his title is?
He's a crime scene technician.
CST, okay. And you and he did some scans, or is the word created a scan? Is that the right word for it?
No, we conducted scans of the parking lot.
Okay. And when you're conducting scans, you're taking all sorts of photographs, correct?
Well, the actual Faro device is taking the photographs as well as the scans.
That's right. You set them up in the different places, and it takes the photographs and the scans from its device, correct?
That is correct.
And is this a still camera of some sort that just sits in one place and takes one photograph, or does it move on its own, or how would you describe that?
No, it's an integral part of the Faro system, and it's kind of hard to explain without using my hands.
Okay.
The box sits on top of the tripod. Now there's a mirror in the middle that the laser hits and goes out, that's rotating up and down. It's rotating on its axis this way. At the same time, it's taking photographs, and the machine is rotating clockwise. So it's going in a circular motion. So it's scanning and photographing up, down, as it's moving around on its axis.
As a person, it's basically taking a whole series of photographs as it's moving along, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Similar like a movie projector would do, just in a different sort of technology using this laser and the mirrors.
That, and it's at a fixed location.
Very good. All right. And Mr., is it Dustin, is the gentleman who y'all contract with for this technology?
That is correct. That is the person that we purchased the Faro scanners from.
And he also provides some training for y'all? Is that correct?
Yes, he is a certified Faro trainer.
And is that something that the department takes care of for y'all to have y'all get that training, or is that just something you do on your own?
No, that was something that when we purchased the Faro, that was included, a 40-hour block of instruction on use and processing of the Faro data.
Very good. Now, after you said you did the scan at was it at the shed or was that the Chick-fil-A, I think you said?
We scanned the Chick-fil-A.
Very good. But you never went to the tree house with the car?
No, I did not.
And the day that you did that, what day was that? Do you recall?
If I may refer to my report,
Absolutely.
that would have been 10/25 of 2015, October 25th.
And Mr. Dustin was not out there with y'all to assist you on this. Y'all were doing it on your own, correct?
That is correct.
After you did that, let me ask you this. When you took the items out of the car on June 18th, first of all, did you take the items out of the car on June 18th, the car seat and the amps and whatnot?
It was June 18th into June 19th, because it was just before midnight, well, a little after half before midnight when I started the execution of the search warrant, so it would have been into the 19th.
And you had done all sorts of measurements with these rulers and whatnot there on the scene before you removed anything from the car, correct?
That is not on from the vehicle.
That's correct, that's correct.
That is correct.
In other words, you didn't have to have a scan to figure out what the measurements were or figure out what things were. You were able to take photographs, use the rulers, make measurements from all that, correct?
At the time, we had not purchased the Faro scanners at that time.
So were you able to make measurements from taking the photographs and using the rulers at that time?
Well, yes, I took measurements, and I didn't take measurements from the photographs.
How's that?
I took photographs. I took measurements
In
from the
addition to
vehicle.
the photographs.
Yes, that is correct.
Very good. In other words, you were able to get in the car itself and make all the measurements you needed, correct?
That is correct.
And that's how you've been trained, and that's how you've been doing it for years, correct?
That is correct until we purchased the Faro.
Now that you have the Faro, does that mean those measurements are no longer any good?
No, that is not what I'm saying. That's in addition to.
You just got a new tool that takes a lot more photographs for you, is that fair to say?
Well, the Faro scans can also be used to take measurements from the scan itself because it uses a time distance laser to get accurate measurements to where a object is that the laser strikes and gets back to the Faro.
I think you mentioned as you found the car seat, you found the straps in the middle hole for placing the straps, correct?
That is correct.
You never observed them in this lower hole, correct?
No, I did not.
States 279, where we see this ruler that you're using, within the bottom edge of the, I'm calling it a ruler, that's probably not the technical term, but you understand what I'm talking about, the black and yellow
The scale, that's
scale.
correct.
Very good. Are you pushing that scale down into the seat to make sure it goes down as far as possible into that seat, or are you just kind of laying it up there?
And it's laying up there because that is not a measurement. That is merely a scale for the photograph. So you can see on what a scale is, that it breaks down to an actual size. You can see that's graduated in 1-inch blocks. So you could literally take that photograph and blow it up until it is the actual size of the seat itself.
All right. And we see that in states 279 that we're looking at, and 280, which is the top part, correct?
That is correct.
And the measurement that you have in your diagram corresponds with what we're seeing in this photograph, is that correct?
Like I said, this was not a measurement. This was merely a scale. So if we needed to, we could blow that up 1-to-1 is what we call it, to actual size.
Okay. But did you take a measurement of the bottom part of the car seat all the way to the top of the car seat?
I did, if I may refer to my report.
Please. Absolutely.
Yes, I did.
All right. And what is that measurement?
It's 1 foot, 7.25 inches.
Very good. And that's child safety seat to top head area, correct?
That is correct.
And that equals up to 19.25 inches, correct?
That is correct.
And I'm understanding you say that we can't see that in this photograph. That's a separate measurement you took separate from the photograph.
That is correct. That is merely a scale.
Very good. All right. One other picture I asked you about. I don't know if it's here. I think this is page 261. I understood you say this is the picture that you took when you sat inside the vehicle and took a picture, correct?
I don't know if that's actually sitting inside or leaning my head inside.
Okay. It looks like actually you're still outside the car. Actually, you're still outside the car because you're able to capture this part of the steering wheel over here, correct?
It's pointed. The lens has no peripheral vision.
Okay. Well, as you sit here now, are you able to tell us you were sitting inside that seat taking that picture, or were you actually outside the car?
Could have been sitting inside the vehicle. I could have been standing outside with my head and camera inside.
Okay. Can you tell us if you were sitting inside the car seat as you testified earlier, or not?
It could be, yes.
So it might be you just don't know.
It could be from the different photographs I've taken.
And even though we can almost see the whole side of the steering wheel over here, you think you might have been sitting in the driver's seat.
That's possible, yes.
Pull up the video again here. See if I can make this work. Save us a little time here. All right, we'll let this video run just a minute. And if you will tell me at what point in time that you were sitting inside that car seat, I think you noted it earlier from Mr. Evans.
That's where I'm sitting inside the vehicle.
All right. Stop. No, let's get back to the vehicle. It's 40. Right there. 405. Even though we can't see inside the vehicle, this one it's looking out the windshield, correct? And you're sitting in,
Yes.
in the car seat at that point.
That's when I was getting into the vehicle.
continue to play it, you're inside the vehicle, sitting in the driver's seat, taking the video, correct?
That is correct.
We've seen the rest of it, but I want to stop here because we're kind of in the middle console area. Did you search the console area, the center console of this car?
Yes, did.
And did you obtain any items of evidence from that console?
They were, may I refer to my report?
Absolutely.
There were Chick-fil-A receipts from the center console.
Have those been admitted into evidence already, do you know?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, I think we had them out earlier. Do I have, thank you, Mr. Evans. Thank you. We're on Friday. 14? 14. Actually, I already have some other items marked. This will be number 18. Defense is at number 18. Does that appear to be the items that you retrieved from that center console?
Chick-fil-A receipts from center console.
Yeah, was that items you retrieved on June 18th, 2014 into June 19th when we took this video?
They actually recovered on June 19th at 01:54, 1:54 in the morning.
Or so you had a long night that night? Or maybe a typical night for what you have to do, I guess. All right. We would move as Defendant Exhibit 18, Your Honor.
Okay.
Admitted.
All right. After that long evening, you took the items of evidence and you put them into evidence for safekeeping. And did you see those items of evidence again prior to coming to court today?
Yes. Many items of evidence were viewed by me.
And did you have occasion to be in the vehicle again with those items of evidence?
I think the vehicle was photographed again. I do not recall if I actually sat inside of the vehicle, but I did photograph inside of the vehicle again.
Do you remember July 2nd, 2014, being back in the vehicle with the items of evidence? At least one particular item of evidence, that being the car seat?
That is correct.
And why were you inside the vehicle again on July the 2nd, 2014 with the car seat?
May I refer to?
Absolutely.
We wanted to photograph the child safety seat with a mannequin inside of it in the vehicle.
All right. And did you assist in doing that?
Yes, I did.
And who all was present when you did that? Do you recall?
There was DA investigator Lupo.
Okay. All right. And your job there that day, were you the one taking the photographs?
Yes, I was the one taking photographs. I also placed the child safety seat back in the vehicle using measurements I had taken on the initial search warrant.
All right. So you got an opportunity to put into practice exactly what you've been taught to do, which was see if you could put it right back where you found it again, correct?
That is correct.
And did you do that on this occasion?
That is correct.
And in doing so, what did you rely upon to ensure that you put the child car seat back in the same location as you had found it?
My notes, my report.
Did you use a diagram?
No, I did not.
But you used your report that we've been referring to earlier that had all the measurements on it, correct?
That is correct.
And as to this event in July, you created a second report explaining exactly what you did, correct?
That is correct.
And in looking at that report, do you have that with you as well?
I do.
And you noted in there the measurements that you used in order to place the car seat back the way you found it before, correct?
That is correct.
Now, if you have the July report and the June report in front of you, where you can see those measurements that you used. The first in the July report, July 15th, I believe it is, July 2nd, 2014, that you did this, correct?
That is correct.
And you placed the car seat looking at the measurement of the side of the safety seat to the rear driver door. In other words, from the seat over to the left, you use that measurement.
That is correct.
And you have the same measurements there of 1 foot, 11 3/4 inches, correct?
That is correct.
You have that noted on your June report, correct?
That is correct.
Then you use the side of the child safety seat to the rear passenger door, the right-hand side of the seat, correct?
That is correct.
And both of those were 1 foot, 10 1/4 inches, correct?
That is correct.
And then you use the front of the child safety seat to the dash, the 2 foot, 10 1/2 inches, correct?
That is correct.
And then you've got measurements from the sides of the child safety seat or from the inside edge of the child safety seat to the door. Just kind of reminding you where those measurements were taken from, correct?
Okay, that is correct.
All right. Looking at your June report, there's an additional measurement specific to the child car seat, child safety seat, that you did not use on July the 2nd. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
All right. And that is the measurement of the back seat floor to the top of the child safety seat, correct?
That is correct.
You didn't use that measurement at all when you set this back in the car.
No, I did not.
Did you document where the child safety seat was in the car after you put it back in there in July by photograph?
Oh, yes, there was photograph.
Put it with ours, please, sir. And show you defense exhibits 14, 15, 16, and 17. Ask if you'll review those, please, sir. Do those photographs truly and accurately depict the car seat in the vehicle after you put it back in on July the 2nd, 2014?
Yes, it does.
All right. And the first picture I've given you, that's again the grayscale identification sheet so you know who did this, when it happened, correct?
That is correct.
And that indicates July 2nd, 2014, and you're the person who did and took these photographs, correct?
That is correct.
Now, as you look at these photographs, I'm going to tender defense exhibit number 14 through 17, Your Honor. Defense 14 through 17, I'll tender those. Yes, yes. Oh, sure.
Did you take these photographs?
Yes, it did.
Okay. I have no objection.
There's
Sorry, I was just making sure.
That's okay. When you look at these photographs, are you able to notice something very different about this car seat than when you last saw it in the car in June?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Explain to ladies and gentlemen what that is.
The handle of the child safety seat is up, in such manner it is now, and there is an evidence tag that's been zip tied to the handle of the child safety seat.
And that helps you, when looking at these photographs, to tell the difference between those which were taken before you removed the car seat and after you put it back in, correct?
It's just, yes, that does.
Not that that's why you did it, but it just, because of the nature of how it happened, we know if it's got the handle up, with the evidence tag on it, that's after you put it back in.
Yes, or after it was placed back in.
Very good. Anything else that you noticed that's different between how you last saw it in June before you took it out of the car?
Well, there is a doll in the child safety seat in some of the photographs.
Okay. Let me show you Defense Exhibit 7 through 6 through 10 again. Maybe by comparison, it may help you.
Yes, it does.
All right. Now that you look at those, you're able to see something about that car seat that's very different between June and July, correct?
That is correct.
And what that difference is that the extension on that car seat has been lowered in July when it wasn't that way in June, correct?
Well, there is more space between the rear edge of the child safety seat and the vehicle seat.
Are you familiar with how this seat adjusts up and down?
It's been a long time since I've had children, so I'm not overly familiar
Mr.
with it.
Rodriguez is probably the closest to that. Maybe ask him to help me here. If you will, Mr. Rodriguez, show us how that adjustment, hold on, let me get out here so we can see it, so the state can see. How does that adjustment work? That adjustment, are you able to see that as you sit here today?
Yeah, I can see that.
Were you aware of that feature to this car seat in July 2014?
I'm not overly familiar with child safety seats, so no.
Is it fair to say that when you put this car seat back in July of 2014, whether or not that adjustment was up or down, you didn't take note of it?
No, I did not.
Well, fortunately for us, you took pictures of it, correct?
That is correct.
All right, go step down, please, sir. I'm going to ask you to show Defense Exhibit 7 and Defense Exhibit 15. 7 is the one from June, and 15 is one from July, correct?
Okay. Yes.
Now, if you'll show these ladies and gentlemen of the jury, in July, the adjustment area has been lowered. It wasn't that way in June, correct?
That is correct.
All right, you just kind of walk that down so ladies and gentlemen can see it. Thank you. See? And having seen that, and looking at these photographs, and I'll leave them up here, you can refer to them. Moving of that adjustment changes the angle that that seat sits inside this high two car. Is that correct? And when you push the adjustment out and have it up, it causes the top of the seat to angle down. Right? Measure that aware that this car seat was actually put back in there so that y'all could do some scans of this car? Is that right?
No, we did not do it for that purpose.
You did it for purpose of getting it all.
That is
And did you leave that car seat in the car for that one photo until after the scans were completed?
I don't know about these. I was not present when they were doing scans.
You did some scans of the car at the Chick-fil-A, correct?
No, not of the vehicle at Chick-fil-A.
Okay. You just did the parking lot at Chick-fil-A.
That is correct.
I got you. Very good. So after you put that in the car seat, did you leave it in there so that they could do whatever it is they needed to do?
May I refer to
Absolutely.
Yes, I left it in the vehicle.
Between June 18 or June 19, 2014, when you removed this car seat and when you put it back in on July the 2nd, 2014, how many adjustments were made of that car seat, that time frame?
I do not know.
And whoever did those adjustments, you don't know who did that either?
No, that would be on the evidence property control sheet.
Talking about measurements, did you ever measure how high the roof line of the Hyundai Tucson was?
No, I do not believe I did.
Okay. You mentioned several times under red that you're 6 feet tall. Were you
Right
as
about.
tall as the roof, above the roof, below the roof, right even with it? You know.
Probably a little bit taller than the vehicle. It's a small SUV.
Okay. Could you see all the way over the roof?
I don't recall if I can or not.
But you never measure it, correct?
No, I did not.
Defense Exhibit 8, this is a photograph showing the car in June and showing that buckle strap. See how tight it is?
Yes.
Defense Exhibit 16 and 17 show that buckle strap after you put it back in July 2014, correct?
That is correct.
And there's a noticeable difference between the length of that strap in July than how it was in June, correct?
That is correct.
And what we see is that strap, the extension, is much longer in July when you put the car seat back in, correct?
That is correct.
Thus changing the angle of that car seat such that it would lean more downward toward the front seat, correct?
That's correct. That's what it would do.
Arguably one of the most important measurements in this case as to where Cooper Harris's head would have been on June 18th of 2014. That measurement was not used in July when you put that car seat back in, correct?
That is correct.
So anything that was done with that car seat thereafter is affected by the lack of using the very measurement that you took in June but failed to use in July.
That is correct. I did not use that measurement.
Is today the first day that you're aware of that?
I did not pay attention to it. That is correct. You mean as far as not using the measurement?
Yes, sir.
No, I mean, I knew I didn't because I wrote down the exact measurements that I did use.
You had it in your report. All you had to do was simply follow your report like you did all the other measurements, but you failed to use the one that showed the angle of the head.
That is correct. I did not use that measurement.
Thank you.
Since we're on that last topic first, were you asked a single question on direct about this doll?
No, I was not.
Okay. Those questions came when defense counsel asked the questions, correct?
That is correct.
Since they've gone into that topic, raised it, I'm going to show you 308, 309, 310, and 311. Are those fair and accurate depictions? Some other angles of that seat with this initial doll that was put in there?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I'll tender states 308 through 311.
See them, I'll show you that single before. These are taken on July the 2nd, 2014.
That is correct.
I don't think they're relevant to what happened on June 18th of 2014, given the information that we now have, so I would object to them being tendered.
You said they're fair and accurate depictions of the photographs that he took from the same topic that defense counsel just raised moments ago on cross-examination. So if they're going to put in some of the photographs, I think it's fair to put in all of the photographs or at least some other ones.
I withdraw the objection. They want to use those. I withdraw.
All right. Are you aware that a more accurate mannequin was requested in this case since the July photographs were taken?
Yes, I am.
Okay. The mannequin that you used back in the July when you took these photographs, are you aware of whether that was a comparable size or not, or was there a better mannequin that was created?
Evidently, it was a better mannequin that was created. This was a general size.
States 308, I don't have it loaded onto a thumb drive, so we'll do this the old-fashioned way, but looking at States 308, just describe for the jury what 308 depicts, please.
That's depicting the child safety seat with the mannequin that I used on July 2nd.
Okay, and then similarly, this is States Exhibit 309. Describe what 309 shows, please.
That's the same area photograph, just from a different angle.
And then we have States 310 as well. Describe what 310 shows.
That's from a further angle. That's actually from outside of the door frame. You can actually see the portion of the door frame on the left-hand side of the photograph.
And then I picked 311. Looking at 311, can you actually see the back door open on 311?
Yes, you can.
And because the back door is open, can you actually see a gap between that car seat and the passenger seat depicted anywhere there?
No, I do not.
How about this top area?
On the top area, yes, there is.
This is States 311 that I'm showing right now. Now, you talked about the difference between the July and the June photographs. There are several distinctions. Minor ones, but you talked about them, so let's take a look at them. This is States 272. Looking at States 272. First of all, you wanted to point out that the handle is actually down in June. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So more like this. That's how it actually was in June, correct?
That is correct.
In your July photographs, the handle happened to be up because there was a tag on it.
That is correct.
And then similarly, this portion of the car seat, does it compress?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And looking at 272, compared to, we'll pick an example, maybe 308. Looking at 272, does it appear to be more compressed in 272 than in the July photographs? That's another.
Yes, it does.
And of course, there are portions of this car seat that are they're foam or they're soft, are they not?
That is correct.
Could that impact measurements? Are your measurements an exact science? Or are you doing the best you can considering it's a soft item?
Well, any measurement is only going to be best as a tool. Weather affects tape measures, everything. There are many things that affect it.
And then there was a discussion about this little tilt portion too. Even with the tilt portion out, we're talking about an inch or so difference. Is that correct? Well, let me ask you, what's the difference between here and here?
Like 4 inches.
It's indicated he wasn't even aware of this extension until today, so he certainly has no knowledge. I'd object to that question.
Overruled, and it's a matter of argument.
What's the difference?
It's about 4 inches.
In these July photographs where this was placed back, was this an attempt to get the seat as close as possible to where it was from 272?
Yes, it was.
You weren't asked about it, but was the July photographs, was that an attempt to mislead anyone or anything like that?
No, it's not.
The measurements that you did use to place that car seat in July, what were those measurements used for in terms of the positioning of the car seat within the vehicle itself?
The sides of the child safety seat to the doors to make sure it was even on the accurate on the seat, on the back seat where it was, and from the top of the child safety seat to the dash to accurately say how far from the dash it was.
Would those measurements would they have assisted you in placing it exactly in the location within the car where the car seat was in the back seat?
Yes, that is correct.
Because I don't know what you call that, the part that comes down, it might be a slight effect, an inch or so in terms of...
Objection.
Well,
He testified already it was 4 inches. Now, Mr. Evans is leading, and
Well, leading is true.
I'll try not to leave. What impact might that have on the tilt?
It could be an inch or so off on a measurement.
The mannequin that you used in July, do you know if it was shorter or the same height as victim Cooper Harris?
I do not know.
What about the weight of that mannequin? Do you have any idea if it's comparable?
I do not know.
Of course, with a, do you know what Cooper Harris's weight was by chance?
No, I do not.
Was the seat in the back, was it soft or hard? The actual car seat itself, not this car seat, but the Tucson seat.
It's not hard. It's I think there's a strip of the leather material, but it wasn't like soft, spongy soft.
You were asked some questions about the video that was played, so I'm going to ask you about that. Does the video capture peripheral views?
No, a camera only takes what it sees through the lens.
Similarly, defense counsel asked you some questions about a disc, and you said you did take some photos of the disc. Sorry, we're having to do this electronically. I'm going to show you what states disk 32 on my computer, and just confirming this first photograph that I'm going to bring up. Is that one of the exhibits that we put in?
yes, it is. I'd like to see what it is we're talking about.
Sure.
It's showing on the computer.
Disk 32?
Can you step over and look?
Sure. It's your disk 32.
Just forget one on there also.
It is. Now it's hard to see with the screen protector. All right, looking at disk 32. You were asked some questions about the items from the back of the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
And these are the photographs that you took.
Yes, they are.
Those photographs, can you confirm they weren't on that disc of the ones that you took?
That is correct. They were not on that photograph, that disc.
I'm going to show you this package. Trying to find the PCR number. There it is. What's the PCR number on it?
230618.
And do you recognize whose name is on that badge number?
That's Stoddard, number 1553.
Look at some of the defense photographs that were put in.
Are they all
Here, Mr. Lumpkin.
I believe so. There's some over here as well.
Remember, if you'll step down, I want to ask you a question about defense exhibit number 11. All right, so looking at that disc that you just gave testimony about, Stoddard's name and badge number, defendant's number 11, do you see that contained on his disc?
I do.
Okay. That's the exact duplicate of this photograph of the equipment that was in the back of the
Object to leading. I'd still like to see
What
which
is that?
photograph we're talking about.
The photograph that's centered right there is the photograph that was, is a photograph that was on that disc that Detective Stoddard handwriting was on.
Was that on your disc of photographs from processing on the 18th and 19th?
No, it was not.
Can you take a seat? The Home Depot receipts, I want to ask you about those. Excuse me, I want to ask you about the Chick-fil-A receipts that defense counsel put into evidence. This is defendant's exhibit number, is that an 18? Is that an 18? Or 13? It's kind of written over. I think it's 18. 18. So we can be clear on these receipts. All right, stand up for me if you don't mind. This first receipt that I'm holding, do you see the date there?
It's June 2nd, 2014 at 8:57 a.m.
So not June 18th then?
No, not June 18th.
Does it say Chick-fil-A on the top of it?
Says Chick-fil-A, yes,
But from a different date?
that is correct.
And then I want to this receipt there, does it say anything about?
Yes, it says drive-through on it.
All right, next receipt I want to look at. See a date on that one?
June 6, 2014 at 9:07 a.m.
Does it again say Chick-fil-A bindings?
Yes, it does, and it also says drive-through.
Drive-through. But what's the date on that again?
June 6th, 2014,
Not the 18th?
not the 18th.
This is the next receipt. There's 3 of them in there total. This one right here, does it say which store it is?
It's Chick-fil-A Vinings, FSU.
You see the date and time.
It's June 11th, 2014 at 9:01 a.m. And it says drive-through,
Not June 18th.
not June 18th.
You were asked some questions about the lighting and glare and things like that. When you were in the processing shed with the glare of the lights, were you able to see in the vehicle?
Yes, I was.
Could you see the car seat?
Yes, I could.
And this is stage 253, just to confirm. Can you hold that up and just show the jury where the glare is on the windshield?
The glare is right on this side and right on this side. There's no harsh glare in the direct center of the windshield.
And where's the car seat?
The car seat is right there. You can see it through the windshield.
You were asked some questions about odor and smell, so I want to follow up on that a little bit. Did you smell something in the vehicle?
Yes, I did.
Explain what it was.
Objection asked and answered.
Let me ask it this way. I'll withdraw that question. Did you interview any witnesses in this case?
No, I did not.
Did you talk to James Hawkins?
No, I did not.
Do you know who James Hawkins is?
No, I do not.
I think that's all I have.
You're just 31 up, Mr. Evans. You were questioning him about.
I can get it up.
If you would, please. Evans said image number 9, that would be helpful.
You said 32 or 31?
31. That's the one you were showing him.
There. Sure.
Mr. Evans was showing up.
Do you mind if I take a
Yeah,
seat?
absolutely, please do. Mr. Evans was showing you this disc 31, asking you about these photographs. That image number 9 there, is this image states 288, correct?
Yes, I can't
You can
see
look
the
at it.
number
We'll
on
step
it.
down if you, whatever you need to do. I can hold this big monster daddy machine over to you if you like.
I'll put this up here in the corner. I'm just going to hold it.
Yes, it says 288.
All right? Come, why don't you stand right here while the computer's here so we don't break it.
Okay.
You'll scroll back to the next photographs.
Which one?
I guess it's number 8. See that? Photograph?
Yes, I
Have
see
you ever
that
seen that?
photograph. Yes.
Okay. And are you indicating that you took stakes 288, but you didn't take this photograph? It's right next to it on the same disc?
Well, I did not take this photograph, so obviously I did not take this photograph either.
So you're changing your testimony. You didn't take this photograph, stakes 288.
Well, I object to that. My question was, is it a fair and accurate depiction? Not whether he took that photograph. It's a different question.
Okay. Is it a fair and stakes 288 a fair and accurate depiction of what you saw in June of 2014?
That is correct.
And the next picture on the same disc, is that also?
That is correct.
Okay. You already testified to the 2 previous pictures, I believe, are defendants 12 and 13. You can double check those if you like.
That is correct.
Thank you. So just so these ladies and gentlemen are clear, you're saying these are, in fact, true and accurate depictions of what we found. You just may not have been the one to take the photograph now.
That is correct.
Looking at all these receipts, Chick-fil-A receipts, you took these because in your training you know, wherever they are, Home Depot receipts. You know what I'm talking about, Chick-fil-A receipts? Here we go. You took these because in your training and over 500 hours of experience, gosh, this might be important to see Chick-fil-A receipts taken from his center console, correct?
I didn't know if it was or not. That's why it was collected.
You took them, okay? And did it ever enter your mind that, gosh, he must go to Chick-fil-A a lot?
I don't judge people for where they choose to eat. A lot of people have similar, some people get up every morning and have a cup of coffee.
A routine, correct?
That is correct.
Were you aware that that's where Ross Harris was on June 18th, 2014 in the morning on a routine trip to Chick-fil-A?
Well, I don't recall if that information was actually given to me or not. There was a mention of Chick-fil-A, but I don't know whether it was a one-time thing or a routine.
Okay. And that's why you gathered the evidence, so we could actually all look at it together to try to figure out exactly what's going on here, correct?
That is correct.
Thank you for doing that. Oh, you were asked about this doll. You said that there was some more accurate doll that was created. Did anyone ever ask you for a more accurate measurement for that car seat when you put it back into the car in July of 2014?
No, they did not.
But you had it the whole time and just didn't use it, correct?
That is correct.
Any further to this witness?
No further questions.
Thank you.
Councilman Roach. to go. But before we do, you all made a request that we start a little bit earlier, which is fine with me. And I've consulted with council, and that's good with them too. Yes, for short lunch break, I have no problem with that at all, but 45 minutes is simply not a decent period for frankly, them to get ready for the afternoon. There's work. They're not just having lunch and sitting around doing nothing. They're working. So we'll compress it to an hour-ish. Now, these are all ish. You all know ish. You know, it's not, there's not a big clock swinging back and forth going gong, gong, gong in here, because I'm weighing an awful lot of things and deciding when we are and are not in court. And frankly, I'm weighing y'all's comfort and convenience, and I'm weighing what reasonably needs to be done to move the case along in a well-prepared approach, giving people regular opportunities to take a break, like y'all. Step out, move around, relax, enjoy each other's company. Let them have a break, let them get food, let them get prepared for the afternoon so that things are developed and presented to you in a professionally organized and legal manner. So we will start at 8:30 since you all have asked. We'll compress our lunch to about an hour, and then we can recess. I hate leaving before 5 o'clock. I mean, I've never left the courthouse before 5 o'clock. I mean, it's got to be like my mother's called up and says, I need you for me to leave the courthouse before 5 o'clock in my whole career. But we can kind of look at seeing if my comfort level can mush a little in the 4:30 to 5-ish range. But the odds are good I'll forget, and I'll just keep on, you know, like that horse going back to the barn. It's just ingrained in me, you know, we need to be working. And if y'all want to go back and discuss this a minute, but can't take individual questions. But if y'all want to step out in your jury room and talk for a minute, I'll be here for a few minutes, and you send a note if there's a problem with what I've just said. In the meantime, close your notepads, close your mouths, keep your mind open. And no independent investigation whatsoever. You all have a good evening, and I'll wait a few minutes to see if y'all have something to say, which I suspect you will.
Stuff going down.
Mr. Purdue, if there's enough, bring it to me as quickly as possible,
Yes, sir.
please, sir.
Please be seated.
So y'all are anticipating a half day tomorrow from the state?
That's correct, Judge. We've, as I spoke earlier, there's some witness issues because of all the changes, but
Sure.
I think we've got several witnesses this morning.
That's good. And then the defense will know that, and that may be helpful to you since y'all's housing is so complicated. Mr. Kilgore, and I know y'all are pretty worn out. To have a little bit of a light day might be a very good thing. And then I'm anticipating that Friday will be more to the norm. Is it looking that way, that it's developing that way?
It's looking that way, Judge. We're working actively to make sure we can try to fill as much of the day as possible. I think we'll definitely go well into the afternoon.
Well, I recognize and understand that there are enormous logistical problems, but things will come into place. It's much better, and your light day certainly did not turn out to be that, did it?
No, ma'am.
Y'all can start getting packed up, start doing whatever y'all would do. I'm just gonna sit here and wait to see what they have.